Is ready? All right, it is 7 o'clock. Therefore, we're going to start the November 10th edition of the Hermiston City Council and meeting with a declaration of a quorum. We have Councilor Meyer, who is not with us tonight. Can I have everybody rise for the flag salute, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. City Manager Smith, do we have any changes to the agenda?
No changes.
Right. Well, started out right from the beginning. Do we have, this is the time for the citizen input on non-agenda items. Anyone wishing to bring anything before the council that is not on tonight's agenda is asked to please do the following. Please limit your comments to not more than 5 minutes. State your name and address and direct your comments to me. Anybody wishing to do so? Seeing none, moving on. Consent agenda item. All right, so we have consent agenda items A through I. Are there any council questions on consent agenda items A through I? Seeing none. Public comment on consent agenda items A through I? Council comments. Does the council wish to remove any items? Councilor Roberts.
I would like to remove item I, please.
Item I to be removed to later. Okay. Any others? Seeing none, can I get a motion to approve consent agenda items A through H?
Motion
So moved.
approve.
Second.
Okay, been moved by Councilor Hayward and seconded by Councilor McCarthy. Roll call.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Motion carries. All right, moving to consent agenda item I. Councilor Roberts.
Item I is about the cancellation of the December 22nd, 2025 council meeting. I just figured instead of quietly passing that through the consent agenda, I wanted to make sure it was publicly announced, if approved, that we would be canceling that meeting.
Other council comments? Okay, does public have anything they want to throw out at that one? Okay. Council comments. All right, so motion to approve consent agenda item I.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilor McCarthy, seconded by Councilor Litton. Hang on here. Roll call.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Motion passes unanimously. Resolutions. Resolution 2396 initiates the comprehensive plan map amendment and annexation process for 19.5 acres of land located at 1835 East Airport Road. City Manager Smith.
Yeah, Mr. Spencer.
Tonight you have a resolution in front of you to begin the process to bring into the city a 19.5 acre parcel that's located at 1835 East Airport Road. The property is owned by Farm City Pro Rodeo. It is directly adjacent to the access road for EOTech and the Heroes Complex, and currently lies within our urban growth boundary and has an F1 zoning designation with the county, which is a farm use. In order to develop this property, it needs to be in the city limits to receive water and sewer. And in order to bring it into the city limits, we need to change that F1 farm designation to a city designation. This resolution in front of you tonight directs staff to set hearing dates on those questions. No other action is taken tonight, but city would then schedule hearings on this in January.
Okay. Council questions? Seeing none. Public comment? Anybody in the public have anything to say? Seeing none. Council question or comments? None. Okay. Can I get a motion to adopt Resolution 2396 and lay upon the record?
So moved.
Second.
Let's see, again, tie goes to the runner. We got a motion by Counselor
Kelso.
Kelso, yeah, I'm sorry. And Counselor Hayward on the second. Roll call.
Yes.
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 Motion passes unanimously. All right, Resolution 2397, Master Fee Schedule, Recycling Rate. City Manager Smith.
Yes, Mr. Morgan.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. This evening, we're asking you to update the city's master fee schedule to add a fee for curbside recycling service that we expect to add next year. So again, this resolution simply establishes $8 per month fee for curbside recycling. Important to remind everybody that we're well past, the point of deciding whether or not to implement curbside recycling. That decision was made for you by the state legislature in 2021. So they're implementing this statewide requirement for all communities to have curbside recycling. And it's a new program where ultimately the producers of material and recyclable material that gets sold into the state of Oregon are responsible for paying for a portion of the eventual cost of recycling those materials. So that was approved in 2021, and now we anticipate being able to finally roll this program out here next calendar year. So it's a new curbside recycling mandate ultimately for all cities in the state, over 4,000 population, as well as the urban growth boundaries. And so that mainly impacts communities in our area. So Hermiston has the distinction of being the largest community in Oregon that did not previously have curbside recycling, followed closely by Pendleton, but also it'll impact the cities of Umatilla and Boardman. Technically will not impact cities of Sandfield, Oregon, Echo, some of those other smaller communities, because they're still not at that 4,000 population threshold. But it will impact a number of the communities in our neighborhood. Again, the city of Hermiston, we've generally just been along for the ride as this program gets rolled out by the state. That required a lot of different steps to go through. The state ultimately finally landed on establishing a statewide recyclable materials list. As you can imagine, one of the reasons for this program ultimately was also just simply having consistent recyclable materials all around the state. So it was not uncommon over in the Portland area for different communities to allow different types of materials to be recycled. And so ultimately that just creates an inefficient recycling system. So that was one major component of this process, was establishing what is even going to be allowed to be recycled. Depending on establishing that list ultimately makes a big impact on what the recycling haulers, like our provider sanitary disposal, what types of trucks and carts they even need to obtain, depending on what those materials would be that we would be required to collect. So we've been waiting to get that recyclable materials list for a couple of years, then ultimately having that nailed down. Then that leads to the following questions of, if we're going to go out and buy these $500,000 trucks and, a couple $1,000,000 of carts and those types of things, we need to make sure that we're actually going to get reimbursed for those through this new system. And then finally this summer came the inevitable lawsuit from the material producers against the state, alleging that the entire system's unconstitutional. So it's been an interesting past several years in implementing this program from the state. But we're now at the point where the rubber is meeting the road. So the trucks and carts for our area have been ordered. So those have been ordered. And now sanitary disposal is asking all of the communities that have to be implementing this program to actually establish a rate in order to guarantee the financing to back up the purchase of all those capital assets. So without further ado, the proposed rate is $8 per month, and that would be for a 95-gallon cart, 95-gallon recycling cart, and that would be picked up every other week. So that's fairly common in a lot of places to have, rather than a smaller cart picked up every week, have a 95-gallon cart picked up every other week. So that's really the very basic components of the price. So now we'll kind of, I think we need to, it's important for council and everyone to kind of understand what this is going to mean. And I think a lot of that gets back to just simply understanding what we mean by solid waste in general. You know, I'm probably using incorrect terminology to a certain extent, but generally speaking, I think a lot of folks should probably consider solid waste to be an umbrella term that includes both garbage and recyclable materials. So important to keep in mind if you're thinking about your own household, prior to tonight, your household is going to generate, you know, a certain amount of waste in the household that you ultimately need to get out of the household every week, represented by that, you know, black plastic bag. After tonight, your household is not going to be generating any more or any less solid waste. This will just simply give you another option for how you remove that solid waste from your household. So you're not going to be generating any more or any less as a result of this. You're just adding an additional line of service. So currently in Hermiston, the single most common garbage service that we offer is the 90-gallon garbage cart emptied once a week. But now we will also be offering or being required by the state for every household to also have that 95-gallon cart in addition to whatever their garbage service is. So again, you're still going to have the exact same amount of household materials that you're going to try to get out of your house. You've just simply added additional capacity to the tune of about 47.5 gallons of disposal capacity every week on top of whichever garbage service you choose to subscribe to. So that then kind of leads to the question, you know, if the state is requiring everybody in Hermiston to have an $8 a month recycling service, is that really a cost increase? Or, you know, depending on how you look at it, again, we're really just expanding the options. So a lot of it comes down to what your household chooses to do in terms of removing the solid waste from your household. So this is just an example from my household specifically. So on the right-hand side there, you can see that is our existing garbage service. So, you know, we had a lot of diapers rolling through the household there for a while. So I simply had to just get an additional garbage can because there was just too much stuff going through the house that I need to get out of the household every week. And so we have a 90-gallon garbage cart that costs $29 a month. But additionally, we also have a 35-gallon garbage cart that costs $17 a month. So in total, we have 125 gallons a week of disposal capacity, and that costs our household $46.51. Moving forward, once we add the recycling service on the left-hand side, I fully plan on just simply eliminating the 35-gallon garbage can. So I will still have a 90-gallon garbage can, won't have the 35-gallon garbage can. So that eliminates $17.46 a month in garbage costs. But now we will have access to 47.5 gallons a week of recyclable capacity, and that's going to cost $8 a month. So in total, now I recognize my household is in a very unique situation, but on net, my household will actually end up with a net increase of about 12 gallons per week of capacity to get solid waste out of our household, and our total cost each month will actually go down by $9.46 under this proposal. Now, I know some folks were, you know, questioning me and saying, "No, I don't know, you're really going to be able to divert some of that recyclable material into your recycling canister." And I was looking at my garbage can in my kitchen this morning, and I noticed in my garbage can there was a plastic milk jug, a plastic butter margarine container, there was a ketchup bottle, and there was like a big gallon-sized vinegar container. My wife thinks vinegar cleans everything. So literally, you know, that takes up a lot of space. You can crush some of those things down, but ultimately it takes up a lot of space. And every single one of those will be able to be diverted into a recycling container moving forward. So I really do believe that in, you know, our situation, we'll easily be able to eliminate that 35-gallon garbage service and have that replaced by the recycling service. So that's my household. But as I mentioned, a lot of this is going to be choose your own adventure, and it comes down to, each individual household's needs and really what they value more. So, there's another example of, different type of 5-person household. You could have a household that has a bunch of adults or teenagers. They very well may, need to have two 90-gallon garbage carts. That's becoming common. I see it a lot out in the neighborhoods where you'll see households with two 90-gallon garbage carts. So currently their total cost is $58 a month. It very well may make sense for them that maybe they couldn't quite squeeze down into before having a 90 and a 35. They really needed that 90 and a 90. But so adding that recycling cart, they may be able to just reduce one of those 90-gallon garbage carts down to a 35. In this instance, they will see a net reduction in weekly capacity by about 7.5 gallons per month. But that would also save that household an actual cost about $3.59 a month. So that's where I make the point that some of it comes down to the individual household choices and individual household values. If they value more having that additional capacity, then they don't have to, downgrade their service. They could keep the two 90-gallon carts, in which case they would value that capacity more than the financial cost. So that's an option for that household. On the complete other end of the spectrum, though, I'm not going to say that everybody's going to save money. So there are certain households that they are completely, I guess what you'd consider to be optimized in terms of their solid waste service currently. So think of, the single widow or, myself when I moved to town. I was 24 years old, and there'd be weeks where I'd have like maybe one bag of trash in my trash can. So some households, they're already at just a 35-gallon garbage cart, and it works just fine for them. But the state is now requiring them to also add a recycling service that is, they had plenty of capacity before. Now they're being required to add additional capacity. For that type of household, they have no other choice. The state's going to require them to add about $8 a month to their solid waste services. And then last example, I mean, there's again lots of examples, but there's other examples of the empty nesters. People just get used to having a certain type of service. If you have a couple of kids and then they end up going through high school, they leave. You may be used to having a 90-gallon garbage service, but if you have a couple of adults who work outside of the home, they're rarely at the home. They may very well be able to just simply downsize their 90-gallon cart to a 35-gallon cart. And so again, they have the option to save actual financial costs if that's what they choose to do. So next steps moving forward, adopting this resolution this evening would set those rates effective immediately for recycling, but important to understand, no customers are actually going to get charged for recycling immediately. Nothing will be charged until the service actually begins. We're just adopting this rate so that it's there once the service begins. And that will begin as soon as the trucks and carts are received and put into service and commissioned, and we hire drivers and those types of things. A lot of that depends on when they actually get delivered. So at this point, we're still just using the very generalized 2026. So more detail to come when that actually arrives. Also important to know, we're not just going to suddenly drop these recycling bins out in front of everybody's house and expect them to know what to do. So there will be significant public outreach in the months leading up to when we actually roll this system out. So with that, I would stand for any questions. Also, I would point out that Kevin Miracle with Sanitary Disposal is in the audience here this evening, and so he could answer some additional questions if you have those.
Council questions, Councilor Hayward.
I got a couple of questions. One is right now our recycling does get our trash gets recycling as it gets to the waste management, gets put on a truck, then goes to a separation place. Am I correct?
Yes.
So with this, there's no benefit for a citizen to say, hey, I need to have this. Can they opt out of not having this bin?
No, the state's requiring every residential customer to have curbside recycling.
Well, I think there was just a little misunderstanding in that question. Everything that goes in your current garbage can is going to the landfill ultimately. It's not being recycled. Everything that goes in the garbage can is going to the landfill.
Yes, yeah, garbage can landfill, the stuff at like Gear Road, that's the stuff that's source separated and is taken to different vendors to have them go through it. So the glass goes to Glass to Glass in Portland, or cardboard goes to a mill in Toledo, and
So like, say a company decides to throw cardboard, trash, plastic, and everything in a trash can and just send it to the dump, that's not getting separated?
no, nope. Once it goes in the garbage truck, it's not getting separated. That's why we're gonna have a separate cart on the curb, so you can put that material into the other cart, because that's gonna be processed different and also tipped in a different location at the transfer station.
I do see alcohol that citizens are not gonna be happy with this $8 fee and be like, hey, I didn't sign up for this and I don't want to do it.
Other questions?
So just for my understanding, there will be a 90-gallon cart provided by sanitary disposal as well as a 35-gallon cart.
No. So 90-gallon cart is one option for garbage service. You also have the option for a 35-gallon cart. What is new is a 95-gallon recycling cart. And so residents will still be required to maintain garbage service however they want to do that. So if you currently have a 90-gallon garbage cart, you may choose to downgrade your garbage service down to a 35-gallon cart. Or any mix or match of those types of things, but you'll be required to have the 95-gallon cart that's serviced every other week for recycling.
And this is something that came about because of the legislature,
Correct.
not because it was something that the city dreamt of, but something that passed back in 2021.
Correct.
Yeah, I can give you just a little quick background. I won't go into too deep, but back in 2017, China, who used to buy all of the material, they basically said they were done. So they stopped taking the material. And that left the recycling programs in the state of Oregon and across the country just scrambling from us, the haulers, to the facilities that are, we were just completely blindsided by it. So what Oregon did is they decide to make sure that the end market for every single thing that is on the list, make sure that it actually has an end market. So it's just not going to China and they burn it or throw away, or, even stuff, gets thrown away that's mixed with it. So this is one of the main reasons, and to get every community in the state of Oregon to have it's the same if you go to Medford, if you go to Portland, it is to come out to Eastern Oregon. So everything's going to be the same. One of the, with the price for, every other week at $8, for the trucks to be paid for, the carts to be paid for, the educational material, the outreach, and even the contamination education, all that, and the trucking from when we dump it at sanitary and take it into Portland, a lot of that stuff's paid for, so none of that price gets pushed on to the customer. So the pricing that you see in Hermiston or in Eastern Oregon is a lot cheaper than it is in the Portland metro area, because we have a lot of the upfront capital funding.
And I was simply just asking the questions. We have had you present before. So as the council, we were aware of the price increase. So I'm just asking for clarification for those in the audience or those that may be tuning in on YouTube. Thank you.
Council Kelso was yours. Okay, fine.
I know we established there's the 95-gallon for recycling, but for people who are interested in kind of going the zero garbage route or who end up producing more than 95 gallons of recycling, will there be options for either additional containers, or what is their option?
Yeah, and I need to correct something on that. If somebody wanted a second cart, we would give that free. So if they're producing more recycling than that, then we'd allow them to have another recycle cart.
Okay, thank you.
So I'll fix that in the fees.
Council Kelso.
So I come from the west side where I lived for a long time, and we've done this for a long time. And I hated it then, and I'll probably hate it now, but we had these red buckets where we put glass and motor oil. Is that the same here? We're gonna be tossing motor oil in the bin as well?
So glass is only going to be available at the depot. The depots are going to look a lot different as we kind of transition through this because there's going to be a lot of other material. It's a hard to recycle material that's going to be available to be recycled at the depots wherever, wherever City of Hermiston decides to put the depot. But from the green propane bottles to styrofoam, film plastic, stuff like that is basically what it's going to look like at the depots. And they will be manned and they will have, they will be fenced, and we will also, somebody will be there the whole time in order to watch what people are bringing in so it doesn't turn into kind of a big mess. The oil, don't have, we're not doing that now. We take it at the transfer station. I'll have to look into that. Putting oil on a truck sometimes is kind of a bit of a nightmare.
Yeah.
They don't always seal and then you end up leaking on the street. So,
Yep.
But I'll definitely look into that piece.
Okay, my second question is, and this is for the public, I think it would be good to have your affirmation that this $8 increase is not going in any way to increase your company's profits. This is simply to meet a state mandate. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, we still have to pay, what we're gonna get is, any profits would actually go to paying for drivers, mechanics, whatever it costs to maintain the trucks, health insurance and stuff like that.
Those are all costs associated with the mandate. Those are not going to your bottom line, to your profit. Is that correct?
I will find out that for you. I'm sure that I'm sure there's a profit in there a little bit.
For your company?
Mm-hmm.
Wow, okay.
Counselor Hayward.
I'll let
Nope, Counselor Roberts.
I have 3 questions down. First of all, I'm curious about apartment buildings. Are they going to need to do curbside recycling, and how does that work?
Yeah, we have the option that they can have a 300-gallon cart. And so we can put that, that'll be part of this first transition, is doing curbside residential and ultimately multifamily also. The commercial businesses will fall in a little bit later as the program kind of advances.
What is the fee for the apartment, the 300-gallon?
Oh, what is it? Is it 24? I think
So it's not $8. It's
well, when it's 300
proportional.
gallons, 90 times 3,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
It's the same price. It's in the volume's the same.
Okay. I know I was reading kind of the background. You gave a little bit on it on the legislation from 2021. The proponents who ended up passing this bill basically were saying that this was intended to have the cost borne by the producers of the recyclable materials and industry, and not so much the ratepayers. I guess I'm curious, especially in light of there being a profit margin there. What is preventing sanitary disposal from absorbing this cost so that the ratepayers don't have to?
Well, it's not anything that we're requiring to do. It's the state of Oregon that's doing it. So as us just being a service provider, we're not going to absorb that cost.
And then, and this is as much for staff as anything. What happens if this fee increase is not adopted? What is the penalty from the state, or what is the recourse that the state has?
That's an interesting question that I don't know that we've even really looked into. I'm sure we would eventually start to get fined by the state if we're not rolling this out. Because again, we rely on sanitary disposal. They're a private for-profit company, so like every private for-profit company, they need to have a profit motive. They're not doing this just for fun. We're paying them just like we would if we were doing it ourselves. And so if we don't approve a rate, then they can't, follow through on the requirement that we're asking them to do and go collect for us. So then we, the city, we would ultimately be the ones that would be out of compliance as far as DEQ's perspective. So the city would be the ones that starts to accrue fines.
Going down there. Councilor Broom.
I had a question regarding the recycling bin size, but I think I might have answered it myself. So this recycling, it's 95 gallons, but it gets picked up once every 2 weeks?
Yep,
Is
every
that,
other week.
okay, and so that's where the 47.5 comes in. Okay. I was wondering if there was a smaller, because I see that the recycling container is bigger than even the garbage container, but if it's getting picked up every 2 weeks, that makes sense. I guess something smaller if people are opting to have a smaller size that they're wanting to recycle to pay less of a bill. And as opposed to the garbage, we actually have to have the recycling. Does every customer have to have a recycling container then?
So in our current code, every residential address is required to maintain adequate solid waste service.
Okay.
So we don't have a good definition of what that means, and so our intrepid city attorney is developing that for us. So, yeah, so you're required to have adequate service, and so ultimately, I think where that comes in is if you have a residence that is constantly, overflowing with garbage, they have garbage, that gives the city the ability to cite them for lacking adequate, solid waste service. So it's a roundabout way of saying it's not expressly required that you have to have that service if you're somehow managing to take care of your waste yourself.
Understand. Thank you.
Okay, so any others that haven't talked already? Okay,
I talked already.
well, I mean, questions.
Oh, I have round two. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm good.
Yeah.
My question is now is what's going to say if somebody does get this and just choose not to use it and just use their normal garbage? Is there a fine for them throwing stuff in the trash, or what's the incentive of making somebody use this? Because
They're still gonna have, it's gonna be a mandatory service. They're still gonna have to have, they'll still pay for the service regardless if they use it or not.
I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Counselor, I think were you getting it if somebody's just putting garbage in the recycling
yeah,
can?
well, say I have the can, I have to pay for $8, but I don't put it out every week, but I just throw everything in the trash can. There's no incentive of me to use it.
You're still
That's what
gonna,
I'm getting at. I can see somebody doing that. It's not helping. It's being the purpose of what the job that's there for. Now I gotta pay $8 for this can. I don't want the can. I just want to throw everything in the trash can. I can see a citizen saying that and complaining that to the city. That's what I'm saying. Is there a fine for me throwing not recycling? That's what I'm getting at.
well, I don't think there's a fine, but you, regardless if you use a card or not, you still have to pay for the service. You can't opt out.
Councilor Kelso.
Thank you. So I'm curious about the guy who just throws all his garbage in the recycling bin. What are we gonna do about that?
So I can touch on that. So, we have educational programs. Some of the trucks are going to be equipped with a version of AI. So it'll be a process of educating the customer as we kind of go through, because we don't want to throw trash in there. It completely defeats the purpose. And not only is it mess up the recycling itself, when you send it to a processing plant, the safety aspects of throwing trash in there, people are sorting it, are bad. So, I've been doing this for quite a few years, and I kind of grew up in the Portland area-ish, and I'm familiar with kind of some of the certain areas that are a little difficult when it comes to having clean recycling. One of the things that, my plan is to make sure that we have one of the cleanest recycling programs in Eastern Oregon. I'm tolerant to a certain extent when it comes to contamination, educating the customer. So I'll be boots on the ground to make sure that everybody's doing it right. And, having a conversation, if I have to go out there and have a conversation with somebody about, why we need to do this correctly, then I will too.
So what is the recourse if they're obstinate?
Well, I think you're just going to get to the point where if they're going to keep doing it, then we're going to have to stop, taking the recycling. But I mean, I think we can probably work through it and get it figured out.
Okay. And my second question is a follow-up to one of my first questions, and that is that now that we've established that part of this $8 increase goes into your company's profit, can you tell us what percentage of that $8 will be your company's profit?
I don't have it off the top of my head, but I can tell you on average between 8 to 12%.
Okay,
And that's, for franchises in the state of Oregon, that's about average.
okay. Thank you.
Okay, my turn. Couple of questions in regards to, you've talked about, I've heard you speak about it, to a certain extent, but talk about the cleanliness part of things. Is that gonna be a requirement? Is that it has to be, like, milk jugs have to be rinsed out, and, if you're putting paper plates in there, if food is on the paper plates, is that gonna be an issue? These type of, that type, is that gonna be an issue?
I mean, eventually, yeah, it will be an issue, but if you're doing your best to rinse it, or, say you have a pizza box with, minimal stuff on it, that's not going to be an issue. There's a certain amount of food that, that we're going to see. Not everything is going to be 100% clean. So I would be more concerned about somebody actually throwing a plastic bag into the recycling or, trash versus, maybe having a little bit of tomato sauce on a pizza box.
So you're not wanting, like, say, I know in my house, we put everything in trash bags and then it goes into the garbage. So you're not wanting trash bags with the recycling, holding the recycling going into the
Everything-
recycling bin.
yeah, correct. Everything needs to be loose inside the bin.
That's something that's gonna have to be very, very well
Yes.
put out.
Yeah.
Next question is for Mr. Morgan, Mr. Smith. Currently, we offer a subsidized or a lower cost for low-income people that qualify to have a lesser charge for garbage pickup, correct?
Yeah, minimally.
So is that something that could be looked at?
It could be. It would have to be subsidized by all the other users.
I understand. I mean, the amount, I can't imagine the amount of people that we have that get the lower rate.
I don't have that off the top of my head.
This is something that I would like, personally, I don't know about the rest of the council, but I would rather, us take a look at is, if we're charging a lower, the lower income are paying, a lower price for their regular garbage, you had the widower up there that was getting getting charged for the 35-gallon container, and they qualify for a lower rate for that garbage container, that garbage pickup. Would that translate to a possibility of being able to paying a lower rate for the recycle bin as well?
The rates as proposed currently would not include, that for the recycling piece, but it's something that could be considered in future rate adjustments.
So if this was something that we were interested in accomplishing, instead of passing this today, would that be something that you could bring to us in the future?
Yeah, I think where I was going with that is in future rate adjustments, that's something that could be added in and considered. So if that's something that the council would like us to look into, we could probably come up with a rate, knowing that that's probably going to adjust the rest of it probably won't be $8 a month for everybody else. It'll probably raise everybody else's rate by a certain amount, but that's something we would have to bring back to the council.
I would like to know how many people currently qualify for the 17, and as opposed, for the smaller amount, I would like to know how many people that accomplishes, because, if the number is small enough, I don't see a need to pass that on. It's not going to cost us that much. Sorry, but you might have to eat that. But, that's me personally, I look at things, how they're going to affect my mom. My mom is single income, lives by herself. She doesn't have a whole lot of she doesn't have a whole lot of trash and, adding one more thing to her bill, it can be an issue. And so I think we should be looking at that type of a thing, but those are my questions. So. All right. Any other council questions? Mr. Ung?
I didn't know that with the recycling container, things needed to be loose. Currently, I have a 90-gallon cart. On any windy day, I often have to go pick up my garbage can from the floor because the lid itself is not a closed, tight lid. So that can be a mess if the lid is the way it is now with the green garbage carts. With all of these recyclable items being on the streets because it tends to be windy in our area. How are the carts going to look like?
They're gonna look, they'll just be a blue version of what we have now, and it is gonna be challenging. But we can't, bagging the material, it kind of defeats the purpose when it goes on to the sort line, because it needs to be loose in order for the machines to read it. So it is gonna be challenging. It absolutely will, especially with the wind out here.
Thank you.
I wish I had a better answer for you, but it is going to be tough.
Other? Okay. Thank you, sir. Now it's time for public comment. Any members of the public comment? Seeing none. Step up. Yep. Step up to the mic, give your name, address.
Sure. My name is Krista Van Veen. My address is 764 West Alder Avenue here in Hermiston. Apologies if these are not the appropriate kind of questions for this type of composting discussion or recycling discussion, but I'm curious, will composting be part of this program? No. And what will be recycled? Is that established yet? Or is it the state that establishes that?
Yeah, so we do have the recycling. I'd actually ask Kevin to come back up and he can explain a little bit more in detail the recycling list.
Another question that maybe you can answer at the same time is who's doing the sorting of the materials that are going into the bin?
The sorting, here, you can actually have it. You're welcome. So the first questions, paper, plastic, tin, aluminum, flower pots, newspaper, junk mail, that will all go, like your margarine tubs. I can sit here and rattle everything off but that's the majority of what goes into the commingle piece, and then, cardboard, and then the glass is separate. Everybody in the community will start seeing the progress because we are going to rebrand all of the depots with the new material, because we're going to start taking the new material at the depots prior to the trucks landing. So I think probably within the next couple weeks, assuming I get the signage and everything, we'll change everything. There'll be QR codes, so you'll be able to zap your phone. It tells you exactly what's going to be recyclable. What they've done on the other side of the state is that they used to put everything on the cart. The problem is that the recycling is ever changing. And so they want to, using the QR code, it's an easier way for them to kind of change the material or adjust it as needed. So hopefully that answers your question. And then as for the sorting, I just want to make sure I got this right, because everything that you do at your house, you just throw it all in there. That gets dumped in the truck, and then it gets transported to a facility. They basically pick it all up, they put it on a machine, it fluffs it up, and it actually goes through computers and lasers, and it actually can read what the material is. And I've been out of the post collections for a few years now since they've got robots, but I know that like the tin or aluminum gets zapped by like an eddy current, and it shoots like the aluminum can one way, the tin goes the other way. And then they separate the suction cups with the robot, separate the, like the milk jugs and the plastic. And so it all gets source separated. Hopefully that answers your question.
Where will that facility be located?
So the one that we're going to be taking our material to is going to be Pioneer and Clackamas.
Okay.
QR code, that's going to be on the trash bin itself.
Yeah, it'll be on the trash bin. And then I've ordered a whole bunch of mailers and flyers, you know, for Hermiston, Umatilla, and Boardman. And then we'll also have stuff on our website, and then I'll also give Mark the links to everything too. So I want to make sure before we roll this out that everybody is super educated, you know, on what is recyclable. And I'm available anytime. Mark knows I answer my phone when he calls. So if you guys want to talk, Mark's got my number, and I'm available to talk recycling. I love talking recycling. This is your last question.
This is my last question. One of those.
That's my
question
job.
people. Do I need to repeat my name and address? Okay, thank you. Do you have a sense, once this is passed and it's enforced or in action, do you have a sense of job creation in the area because of this?
So we're looking at about three drivers that we're going to have to, 3.5 drivers that we're going to have to add. And then, so that'll be at least for that piece. We'll absorb some of the maintenance with our team that we have. And then something that's not going to be attached to us will be trucking from Hermiston to Portland as we kind of go through this, because right now we don't have an infrastructure for the recycling. And, you know, one of my concerns is the wind, and where we put our cardboard now, the cardboard just blows all over. So what we're going to do when we start the depots is we're just going to top load it. So right when we dump it, we're going to put it into the truck, which I'm assuming with all the depots that we have around here, we'll probably load a trailer probably a week, and then we'll transport that. But as we go to curbside, our volume is going to increase significantly. And, you know, so I've got bids out for trucking companies to get the trailers to and from our location.
Any other public comment? All right, council comments. Council Brown.
Just thought it'd be worth mentioning since, Mr. Mayor, you brought this up earlier, but we do have, for utilities, water and electricity, in case, there's any constituents or citizens interested in trying to get some financial assistance. We do have it for those utilities. I would be interested in a conversation for this utility as well.
Council Roberts.
This may be a little bit wordy, but bear with me. I thought a couple things were interesting. The first point was that we're not generating more refuse, but we have to pay more depending on our household makeup and the decisions we make. I can respect that sanitary disposal is, you know, kind of between a rock and a hard spot like us, but they are a for-profit company. And one of the biggest complaints that we have in the city that I hear anyway is the city's always trying to raise rates. And so I went, in light of this issue, I went back and was just kind of looking, and I found an article from Oregon Public Broadcasting. It's dated June 25th, 2021, titled, "Oregon Hopes to Revamp Its Recycling System by Charging Packaging Companies." The article discusses Senate Bill 582, which is now known as the Recycling and Modernization Act. And the article quotes one of the proponents, which was then Representative Janine Solomon of Hillsborough. She said, quote, "We must have producers share their responsibility to help with waste reduction." And then later in the article is quoted Richard Solomon, who was then and may still be director of Oregon DEQ. The added cost to producers under Senate Bill 582 would roughly be $83 million a year beginning in 2028. It says, quote, Right now, the cost of dealing with these materials is borne by somebody. He goes on to say, frankly, it's borne entirely by Oregonians and by local government. This bill would bring producers into the system and have them pay a portion of the costs in handling materials. There is portions of the article which rightly point out that this is likely going to get passed on to ratepayers. But in my view, and I don't know the long-term solution to this, but Senate Bill 582 was another pretty much unfunded mandate on the taxpayers by the state, while it was maybe in good intention and hoping that producers would bear the brunt of the cost. The reality is we are now looking to, in my opinion, unfairly pass these on to the consumers and ratepayers who, absent this legislation, would not have any rising costs at all. We wouldn't have to change anything. And since the intent of this bill was for the producers to pay, I, in good conscience, am not prepared to vote to pass the costs on to our constituents. Again, I don't know what the outcome of failed vote would mean. I don't know what the penalties would be. As Mr. Morgan said, that's kind of uncharted territory, I think. But I don't think, in my opinion, we should just simply capitulate and tell our constituents that they need to pay more of their hard-earned money simply because they're told to do so when the legislation was designed to be paid by industry and not the ratepayers. So that's kind of my stance on it, my comment. Thank you.
Councilor Linton.
Well, I look at this as being unfair to our constituents. I don't feel like we should have to pay $8 for the same trash that that's already being picked up. That size of a can, I don't even need. I'm single in a household. I have like maybe a couple of bags and that's it. And I'm reminded of a senior that sent us an email last year, I believe, where her income was only $500 a month. And now she was having problems with paying the extra $5 that we needed. And now $8 for something that she may not even need. I know I don't need it. So I'm definitely would like to know, I hope that you would look into what would be the penalty, if there's a penalty or financial penalty, and come back to us and let us know what it is. I'm interested in knowing. Thank you.
Councilor McCarthy.
I just want to make a comment that I'm actually a little bit disappointed that we have a sanitary disposal committee, yet we didn't have the opportunity to meet about this price introduction, rate increases, anything like that. No, Councilor Hayward and myself are on that committee. I'm also kind of shocked at the lack of information that we have for some of the questions that were answered. There was a bunch of surprises on the council tonight with a lot of hemming and hawing and not suring. And I never really feel good about putting a yes vote with that many what ifs and maybes out in front of the and passing new fees on to our constituents that way. So I just feel like we're a little bit ill prepared, and I think we need some more time to consider alternatives.
Councilor Hayward.
I'm kind of right there with McCarthy and Roberts. I don't see us passing the fee off to our voters because that's the number one thing I hear from our voters. We're trying to raise the rates, increase pay from them. I truly think this should have been sent to the voters as a city and have the voters vote it, say yes or no if they wanted the curbside recycling. I know the state passed it. I think the voters should have voted yes or no here in town saying yes or no instead of us, but I think a lack of information, like you said, didn't go to our committee. I think it should. I think we need to look at it a little bit more before we get a yes or no vote and see what the fee is and stuff and get all the information.
Councilor Kelsel.
Unfortunately, I see this as a byproduct of living in the great state of Oregon. The people in control in Salem have never met a tax increase they didn't love. And this is a perfect example. Not only do you have the blatant tax increase of the increased cost to the garbage collectors who then pass it immediately on to the consumer with some profit, but you also have the insidious and unseen tax where they're going to tax the producer. Well, guess who the producer really passes that cost along to? It's you and me and everybody that buys anything in this state. So while inflation is already bad, now it's going to be worse because you've got producers passing this cost along to the consumer. So this is, it's an unfortunate situation, but the way I see it, it's part of living in the state that we live in. We're never going to be able to stand up to the big guys on the other side of the state and say, we don't want your taxes. Thank you very much. They pass it, they're all in favor of it, and we're just going to, unfortunately, reap the consequences.
Counselor Drum.
I don't like rate increases at all. I think it comes at a very bad time. It's something that the city has no control over at what is happening at the federal level with healthcare costs possibly going up, SNAP also getting cut. But at the same time, this is something that we have known about for over a year. This is a discussion that we had over a year ago. We knew that the prices were going to go up. We knew that recycling was the mandate. And I think if there were concerns back then as far as costs or, the possibility of creating some kind of program for those that are not able to pay the full amount, if there would be any subsidy programs, I guess that's the catchy word that I was looking for. I think that is something that we could have talked to the city manager, the department heads, so that they would be looking into it. I think this is not a surprise because we've been talking about it. And I don't like the fact that, a lot of what the state does to small cities, especially rural areas, is that they do pass legislative things that are not fully funded at all. And we have to be the ones to pay for it. I think we're putting the city in a hard spot because we will be going into uncharted territory. I don't know, would you be able to safely come up with an amount of what the city might be charged if we don't meet this mandate? Have you heard of any other cities that are saying, wait a minute, our constituents will not be able to pay? Have you heard of any other cities that maybe are coming up with other programs like some of our council members have suggested and what they're doing about it? I think I would be interested in knowing that, but I don't know that you guys would fully have a clear picture of what the costs will be. Do you think that would be something that would be attainable so that, we can have a discussion about this at a later time?
Yeah, I'm sure at the next council meeting, we could have an answer as far as what the actual financial penalty would be. I know DEQ is watching right now. If they're on Zoom, they could probably add that into the chat if they're aware of what the fee would even be or the fine would be. But also additionally, in terms of what other communities are facing this, the list of cities that I put on the screen, that constituted almost the entirety of the impacted cities in the entire state of Oregon that are going to be impacted by this. I mean, you're literally talking Hermiston, Pendleton, Umatilla, Boardman, Ontario, Baker City, in the entire state that this is really affecting. So all of the rest of the cities that are over 4,000 in the state already do curbside recycling. So yeah, I mean, we could pretty easily call all of those communities, but frankly, we already know. I mean, we already talked with Pendleton and Umatilla and Boardman. Frankly, Waste Connections or Sanitary Disposal serves and will be serving Pendleton, Hermiston, Umatilla, Boardman. So yeah, we're kind of it.
Okay, well, everybody's had a chance. All right. One more time.
Yeah, since everyone was saying their piece, I kind of wanted to say mine, which is I mean, I agree with everyone here up on the council that to get an unfunded mandate and have to pass that on to our constituents is, well, it's not a desired outcome. And I mean, quite frankly, we have a lot of other things that are on our plates, and to have something like this thrown on our plate, something we didn't ask for, though it's a noble cause, it's very defective, and it's left our constituents kind of on the brunt end of things. And so I'm not a fan. I do agree with the cause. I think it's a great cause, but I just hope that it's well thought out. And from this vantage point, um, it doesn't seem financially that it was well thought out of. As far as the cause, I agree with the cause. I think it's a great cause. Um, but as a counselor, to have to pass a mandate that, as Councilor Duran has said, we've known about this mandate for quite a few years. It was passed in 2021 with a lot of cities trying to grapple with what the consequences were going to be. And up until the last couple of years, we really didn't know what it was going to be. I think everyone's kind of dealing with it as it's coming out. And so, if we're going to table this, I'd be fine with tabling it. As to voting against it, um, it's something that's mandated, so I don't think it's a good idea to do something like that without a little bit more plan behind the movement. So if we do want to table it, I'm fine with tabling it, having another discussion about it. But I also don't want to do something that's against state law or something that's going to put us in a bad position. So I'd be fine with tabling and having a further conversation about it. And so if the council is interested, then I would be fine with making a motion to table if the council would like to move that way.
Okay, so we can't do that yet. We gotta go through all the whole thing, then we can get to that part of it. So, all right, any other council comments? All right, now we're at the motion section. Do I have a motion?
I have a motion. Let's table this for more conversation. I'm thinking maybe a month so they can get information.
Okay, we have a motion to table for how long?
Is that for a month so they can get information?
1 month?
So I'm,
Wait, can we let them tell us?
or they can tell us.
They have one meeting in December, just give us an open, and we might be able to have the answer by the next meeting, so we'd like to have the flexibility like that.
Okay. All right. So motions on the floor to table.
I'll second that.
Okay. A motion to table and a second. Motion by Counselor Hayward to table, second by Counselor Barone.
Can I
Roll call.
ask a clarifying question?
Or what's that?
Can I have discussion on that motion?
Yeah. Discussion.
So question regarding this particular motion, if we bring it back for discussion later, all we're really deciding is whether or not to adopt this motion as presented, not making any changes to the policy if we feel there should be changes made to it, correct, at that meeting?
I think at the next meeting could be to adopt whatever changes are made to that policy. Is that correct?
We'll get on mic here. Let's make sure.
Yeah, can't hear your head rattle.
Correct, because this meeting is the same. I cannot see the color. I apologize. Yeah, the motion would table till the next meeting. At that meeting, again, the information be brought forth, where then the motion could be to accept the resolution as written or with any modifications.
Okay, that answers that question for me.
Any other questions on that? All right, so we have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Yes.
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 No.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes 6-1 with Counselor Kelso in opposition. All right, looks like you guys got some more work ahead of you. Okay, next, renaming basketball court at Newport Park. City Manager Smith.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, at your October 13th meeting, Councilor Barone proposed consideration of naming the basketball courts that are a part of Newport Park. And you approved that as an item to come back for consideration and discussion. So, in March of 2024, there was a policy adopted of kind of how to go through renaming or naming facilities that the city owns. And So part of that process is to have that go to the appropriate or related city committee, which would be the Parks and Recreation Committee. And so our recommendation tonight is seeking a motion to refer this to the Parks and Recreation Committee to come up with a proposal and a recommendation to the council related to naming the basketball courts at Newport Park. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Council questions? Seeing none. Public comment? Seeing none. Council comments? Seeing none. Okay, so we have two options available to us. Option one, refer the item to Parks and Rec Committee for discussion and recommendation, or two, rename the courts tonight.
I move
Take a
that we,
motion either way.
or move that we refer this to the Parks and Rec Committee for a renaming of the basketball courts at Newport Park.
Second.
Okay, it's been motioned by Counselor Kelso for option one and seconded by Counselor McCarthy. Roll call.
Yes.
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 Motion passes unanimously. All right. Options for additional court funding for public defense services. City Manager Smith.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, at our October 13th meeting, we were discussing this topic, and the council had some concerns related to this, asking us to go back and do some more research and provide some different options. First, related to kind of better picture of what's going on related to Pendleton, which is really the only other city in our region that currently handles criminal cases in a manner similar to what we do. And so I had a conversation with the city of Pendleton related to that, and they're probably just behind us in the same kind of a process. They do have their currently contracted defense attorney has a contract that would be about double what we are paying defense, and they have requested an increase, and the city is saying the city hasn't focused on this issue. They've had a couple others that have taken precedent, but they're concerned that they can meet that kind of a budget related to court services. So I don't know exactly what they're going to do, but I would say they're in the process of considering a similar situation that we are talking about tonight. Another change in the situation related to our court operations is that we shared with you before that we had a part-time defense attorney. There have been some ethical considerations and challenges with that attorney, and so that attorney no longer is representing clients in front of the municipal court in Hermiston. So we're kind of in a little bit of a different situation than we were last time, but not really. We're back to how can we provide service? We don't currently have a defense attorney, and nobody has responded at our current rate. It is lower than what the state is mandating for circuit court defense attorneys by a substantial amount. And so our estimation to bring our services to that level, and I recognize last time we were talking about it kind of in partial years, but just so we can talk about it all in the same terms, I've really put it out to a full fiscal year so we can just talk about it using the same terms. So it's approximately $500,000 for us to get to, on a full fiscal year basis, to get to where we're paying what the state is paying defense attorneys. And so we took a look at it from two two sides. There's always two sides. So expense cuts. So first, you could do approximately a 3% across the board cut to all general fund departments. You get around $600,000. So, you know, we could tweak it and get it closer, but that would be approximately the amount. Some individual positions, again, that, you know, you're going to have to stack these up to get to the $500,000 level. We just put out there a traffic officer, senior library assistant, parks maintenance, a recreation coordinator, or a code enforcement officer. All have slightly different salaries, but stacking them up to get to some level close to 500,000. If you wanted to look on the revenue enhancement or increasing revenue, every dollar of the public safety fee generates about $73,000. So that gives you a picture of how to get to, two ways to get to, a mixture to get to the $500,000. And, you know, really doesn't change all of these discussions. This information doesn't change the staff recommendation. And like I've shared, I think with every one of you that I've talked to about this, this isn't what we would want. This isn't the best situation. But but it's the situation, it's the way we feel is best to deal with the situation we're in. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions, have any further discussion.
All right, council questions. Councilor Litton.
On here, let me see, your second page, recommended action and motion. You want to send all misdemeanor cases to Pendleton Circuit Court?
To circuit court.
Okay.
We don't decide whether they hear the case in Hermiston or Pendleton.
Okay, because this is the same as when the district attorney came and they were saying that they're short for 4 lawyers. So why wasn't this separate so that we could vote on the first part of the money, fiscal information part, and this being separate instead of on the same thing?
Well, I mean, it's really the same, it's the same question. So we currently cannot prosecute criminal cases in our municipal court because we don't have a public defender for those criminals. And so we need to, I mean, we need to have somewhere to refer those cases. So we need to send them to circuit court because we can't prosecute them.
I understand that, but then at the same time, when he was here, he was also saying that they are having the same problem, that they're not able to because of their shortage of 4 lawyers.
That's correct. And that's on the prosecution side. He's the prosecutor, and he said he's behind in, you know, not able to fill all the positions.
Because it's our stuff.
But that's, I mean, that's an item that's outside of our control and outside of our purview, but I think it just shows that everybody's having a hard time getting attorneys to do the work.
Right.
So that, unfortunately, it impacts his office for us to make this decision, but it's something that we need, from our standpoint, we feel like we need to do.
Councilor McCarthy.
Please correct me at any point if I'm wrong about this, but I just want to try to ascertain where we're at in terms of the situation. So we can't prosecute cases right now because we don't have the attorneys to do it.
Correct.
Just straight up. The option that the staff is recommending is to send things to circuit court where they're effectively not our problem as far as the case is concerned, but potentially they won't be considered as well.
Potentially,
Right.
but they at least have the opportunity to prosecute the cases there, whereas we do not.
And so the only other way that we would even potentially have the option, and this still potentially a gamble because we don't know whether or not people will go at the state recommended level for Hermiston, is to increase our expenditures by almost $500,000 to afford an attorney at the state rate, and then still potentially
Right,
not
and
be able to
that's
work the
why
case.
the unknown, I mean, it's unknown what would happen if we put it out at that level.
So we're really kind of deciding who do we want to not see the cases for at least temporarily until we can get either more funding
Well,
or.
right now, there's at least some chance it would get prosecuted. Probably not a great chance, to be honest, but there is some chance. Whereas where it's at right now, we can't. But what I would like to leave open is that we would be continuing to search and try to get an attorney. And as soon as we were able to do that, we could come back with an opportunity to bring, the prosecution of those cases back.
Thank you.
Mr. Roberts.
Let's say that we win the lottery and we get a defense attorney. They say, yay, we want to come to Hermiston. Can the cases that get referred to circuit be remanded back to the municipal court, or once they're in circuit, are they in circuit?
I'm going to look at my experts for that.
Once they're in circuit, they stay in circuit.
Okay, all right. And then, as part of any motion tonight, can we talk about having staff look at the matter and make it a priority for funding in the 26-27 budget? Because we're going to start budgeting talks here soon. I think it might be wise potentially to see if we could increase, maybe not as high as the OPDC rate, but some type of increase. Can we look at that in our budgeting discussions?
Sure. I mean, you can include those kinds of things in your motion if you'd like.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor McCarthy. Or wait, nope, not yet. Hold on. Make sure everybody else has a chance first. Anybody else? Okay.
Following Councilor Hayward's question, if we were to go that route, could a potential option be to, until that time, send cases to circuit court, and then after budget was approved, new cases back to municipal court?
Well,
because right now we're trying to
budget could
decide
be-
what we're going to do until.
budget could be
end
improved,
of the
but
year.
until we can find an attorney that will come and work for us, there's no reason to bring him back.
Right. So, but we could send them out to circuit court, find an attorney, and then entertain a motion to bring them back to municipal.
Correct.
Any other questions for Counselor or for Mr. Smith? I do have one question in regards to this. If we do look at this in the as part of it as in the future, where you are able to find somebody, we were to increase our budget next year to make that a more palatable. Would it be possible also maybe to look at partnering with Pendleton as a means of sharing the load, sharing the cost?
I'd be open to any kind of partnership. But like I said, they're kind of down the same road we're going.
That's what made me, that brought that to my mind is if our pooled resources were enough to create a palatable position for an attorney to look at it and say, well, I can do that.
The challenge is when you add our cases and their cases together, then you're
Right.
talking about probably another whole attorney
Right.
on top of it. So I don't know that we
But
can
it
save
is-
money, but we can work at any kind of possible partnership.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
So I just want to make sure, if we do not go with the recommended motion that we have before us, that means that the options that you provided where departments are cut, positions are cut, that is what would happen now, during this fiscal year.
Before I put out an RFP with an increased salary, I would need the council to identify the potential cuts that we would make if we were to find that attorney at the higher price.
But these would be,
These are just options. If you don't like these, we can look for more, but these are examples of positions. Because, I took a look through all of the capital outlay You know, that's usually an easy cut. That's $170,000 in the general fund in our current budget. So it doesn't get you very far towards the full amount. So that's why, you know, it's never pleasant to talk about cutting positions. I don't like that. I don't think any of our department heads like that. But if you're looking to replace this kind of revenue, this is the only option that really gets to that amount.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Go ahead.
One, what would be the increase to the lawyer's fee?
It would be 450,000,
That's what the lawyer would be being paid, 450?
yes, for a year.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions? I guess I have one more. All right, in the event that we choose to forward cases to circuit court, that's going to free up money?
Yeah, I believe it, 50 to 100,000 in our next budget, or was it that was next year's budget?
Okay, but
And
for the rest of the year?
We have to figure out a way to get rid of the cases that we have. And so working through that, we didn't see any increase in the next, but in the next budget, we anticipated a decrease.
Okay. I'm not sure that the money that we have allocated for that is allocated to pay for a person.
Right.
Over the next 6 months.
So yes, I mean, that we would not be spending that. That would go to the forward, the cash forward, the beginning fund balance of next year's budget if we do not spend it.
Okay. All right. Councilor Roberts.
If we're looking to bring cases back at some point, we wouldn't want to reduce our budget in those line items in the next budget, though, I wouldn't think, because if we eliminate it and reallocate it somewhere else, it becomes increasingly difficult to put that back in that line item. So
That would, I mean, like you mentioned, you'd like to have that discussion. I mean, that would be a discussion of the budget.
Okay, any last chance for questions? Here, none. Public comment? Anybody? Okay, seeing none. Council comments? Councilor Barone?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and honestly, appreciate the discussion, City Manager Smith. This was my concern, the last time we had this conversation about tabling this, is knowing that if we didn't have a prosecutor or a public defender, then while we spend in limbo trying to figure this thing out, there are cases that are not going to be prosecuted in the meantime. And so I do recommend that we move forward with the staff recommendation. In my conversation with City Manager Smith, I did have a couple comments and ideas that I wanted to throw out for the future, which would be if cities our size in this area partnered together to try to fund another attorney, whether that might be to send to the county to make their pay for their attorneys more competitive and thus getting more attorneys in this area. I also was wondering, maybe this is something that we as a council can do, whether it's in our own city or asking the state, but having some sort of attorney program in which maybe we have a brand new student that comes fresh out of college, and we can offer them like a student loan payment, something that would make it a little bit more enticing. If they complete, let's just say, 3 years of service, then they have their loans forgiven. That gives us at least 3 or a couple of years for a law student or someone that's looking to settle in to be here. In essence, it's time of service in exchange for loan repayment, something to at least make things a little bit more enticing for someone that maybe just graduated out of law school and wants to take an opportunity or a chance to come out to urban or to rural Oregon. And so that could be something that we can do as a city. That could be something that we could propose to the state for this rural attorney crisis that we have going on. But um, I am not in favor of making these cuts to traffic officers, maintenance, recreation, code enforcement. These are all essential services that we need. And with that being said, also understand the situation that we're in and not having in-house attorneys. And so at this moment, I'd entertain the recommended action and having a conversation, maybe in goal setting about what we can do for the near future.
Other council comments? Council Kelso?
I agree with a lot of what Councilor Barone said. I think this is, in my short time on the council since the beginning of the year, this is probably the biggest no-win scenario we've faced together, and none of us want anyone to go unpunished for any crime. I'm pretty sure of that. But going with the city manager and the city's recommendation on this issue is the only course of action I think that we have that gives some hope of prosecution, even no matter how slim it might be, because currently we can't prosecute any cases as a city. And making the proposed cuts or the optional cuts to reach $600,000 or $500,000 to fund a defense attorney just is unpalatable to me. So I'm going to recommend that we go forward with the recommended action as well. Thank you.
Any other council comments? Councilor Roberts?
So, I mean, obviously as a city councilor, as just a citizen of this community, I'm kind of sickened that we're in this situation. I find it kind of haunting that we're in a no-win scenario, like Councilor Kelso said, that we may not see these, especially these low-level misdemeanors, these livability crimes, prosecuted to their fullest extent. I was one of the ones most adamant at the last meeting we discussed this to say, hey, we need to try and keep them here local. Unfortunately, we went from limited options to really no options. And rightly said, if you don't have a defense attorney, you can't prosecute cases. The court's essentially shut down. And, you know, I really do hope that we can continue to try funding, maybe not to the highest, you know, OPDC rate, but at least enticing enough that we can get these cases back to the municipal court at some point. But we really just don't have any other options. And so I agree. I think we have no choice but to refer them to circuit.
Councilor Hayward?
I'm gonna have to agree with Kelso, Brown, Roberts on this the same way. I do think we need to keep looking and try to figure this out, but we're at a no-win situation. I do recommend we do what the staff says.
Councilor?
I agree with everything that has been said, and I think it's a really tough situation that we're in, along with the other small cities. And I hope, I don't know if that is something that where the county can help, or how we can take it up to our legislators to seek help from them as well. I think this is beyond our capability. But I certainly appreciate, you bringing up the idea of partnering up with other small cities so that we can share the cost and hopefully be able to pool our monies together to bring a defense attorney. I know that $450,000 is a lot of money. Some people may say, wow, they're overpaid. I don't know. It is a lot of money. But I think coming to a small city, especially young people, they want other attractions. And so it's hard to compete with bigger cities. So we also have to be creative, I guess, in ways that we can get them to our city, so that they are able to help us keep our community safe. So I appreciate all of the comments that have been shared, and I also would support the recommendation that the city manager has brought before us.
Counselor Linton?
I feel like we are in between a rock and a hard place with this. We can't do it because we don't have the necessary lawyers that we need. Pendleton has already told us that they most likely might not be able to do it if we send them all over there. And so it's like we're taking our problems and we're just giving it to someone else to say, okay, you figure it out, because we aren't able to do it. That's how I feel. And I would like to hear Chief Hermiston make a comment on this. Because, you know, the police officers, they're doing their job. They're going out and they're arresting criminals, which is their job. But then for these criminals to be released because there's no one that can do the prosecution, you know. So I need to hear a little bit more to make a decision. I want to be informed and I want to make the right decision for Hermiston.
So I don't
Thank
want to
you.
try to sway you. As far as the officers, they will continue to do their job. And having said that, to go to what I think it was Counselor Roberts that brought up, there is a percentage of the population that is committing these livability crimes that are already in both courts. And so, you know, I'm optimistic that, you know, perhaps we can see some global deals, if you will, of, you know, taking some of the lesser crimes and handling the bigger crimes through circuit court by doing away with some of the lesser crimes. Point being, I think it was 2013 when we started having this conversation, and I was talking about chronic offenders and how one chronic offender has 6 attorneys around him, 2 judges in each court, or, you know, 1 judge in each court, prosecutor, DA, and then 2 defense attorneys. And so I don't know what that population is, or that percentage is, but a lot of people that we deal with are already involved in both courts.
Any other council comments? Seeing none, throw my 2 cents worth out there. You know, there's no 2 ways about it. This is probably one of the, I mean, we didn't have an easy night tonight, no matter how you look at it. So, one of my ancillary duties in the state is I'm on the House of Delegates for the Oregon State Bar. And I know that that's one of the things that's been brought up in past meetings, and I'm going to speak towards that one in the future to see about, you know, maybe them having some sort of a resolution on their side of things to try and, you know, as Councilor Barone brought up, you know, maybe looking at a way to have them help push forward a way to get things onto this side of the state, get more lawyers onto this side of the state. You know, it's livability is it's the number one thing that we have to, you know, we as a council, it's our bread and butter. It's what we're supposed to be looking at. And so we need to find ways to do that. I know as you know, we all have been told under a number of times, and as I've said over the past years, you know, being a law enforcement officer myself, I know that the sooner you get somebody in front of a judge and get a case adjudicated, the more, you know, that timely I can't even think of the word. But anyway, being timely is more towards, will bring you more towards the stoppage of crime. You know, anybody that's had kids, as soon, you know, you know that, you know, you get after the kid when it happens, not 2 weeks later. You know, that doesn't help stop that behavior, and stopping that behavior is is the reason for bringing them before the court. You know, it's not for revenge, it's for, you know, the whole idea. The same reason for writing a citation. It's the education piece of part of things. It's, you know, to remind you that you're not supposed to do that. It's not an I gotcha, it's, this is so that to help you remember not to do the thing. And so, you know, it kills me to think that, you know, we have to, that we may end up having to put some of this stuff on hold because we don't have that. You know, because the defendants or the citizens who've been arrested, not necessarily criminals. Okay, because everybody's, you know, per the way things are written, you know, they're innocent until proven guilty. And by having an attorney that helps assure that one way or the other. So what we do here tonight is going to have some far-reaching implications, and I don't like it at all. But with that, I need a motion for motion one, recommend a combination of $500,000 cuts enhancements to increase pay for public defense and release an RFP with an updated compensation amounts. Or two, send all misdemeanor cases to circuit court with or without continuing to seek public defense services at or near current compensation amounts. Councilor Roberts.
I'd make a motion to send all misdemeanor cases to the circuit court for potential prosecution while continuing to seek public defense services to return them to the city when the city is able to adequately process the cases. Also adding that we include this in our budget talks for the next fiscal year to attempt to increase funding.
Please don't ask me to repeat that back.
Second.
Second.
I think, is there anybody that didn't second that one? Councilor Kelso? Okay. All right. So an updated version of option two to a certain extent.
Updated of the recommended action on the staff report, yes.
Okay. Roll call.
Yes.
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 Motion passes unanimously. I wish I could feel good about that one. All right. Number three, or C, options for additional funding for the Harkin Rider Center. City Manager Smith.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, boy, our last meeting, October 13th meeting was quite, had a lot of action. And so, again, this is an item brought up there by Councilor Linton to discuss more fully in a council meeting. So just to give a little bit of background, the city has been in partnership with the Hermiston Senior Center Board of Directors, Inc., that's their official nonprofit name, for many years. That partnership started in February 2014. And at that time, we entered into an agreement to develop and then use a potential future facility. So this agreement really grew out of the effort to move the EOTech facility, move the fairgrounds to the EOTech facility, and then that gave the need to replace the senior center facility, which was located on the fairgrounds. And so the city stepped in. We were able to apply for a community development block grant that was secured to build the Harkin Rider Center. And you know, that agreement started in February of 2014, and a lot of things have happened since that time. First, we decided after that point to add the basement, which added additional square footage to the building. We then decided to build out the basement after that. We also had the COVID-19 pandemic happen, which really has impacted both their operations, and mostly, I think, because of their relying on so many volunteers, that COVID-19 has really impacted everybody's ability to attract and keep and utilize volunteers. So all of these factors really have made that agreement that we have at this point outdated and in need of review. And so we started budgeting money to assist the senior board in their operations in the fiscal year 2018, 2019. We really didn't start spending a lot of money out of that area, but our current budget has $132,146 for the Harkenrider Center. Most of that, about $75,000, is allocated to staffing to assist them. And so it was requested to look for ways to add 30,000 to the Harkenrider Center's budget. And so I have, we looked at some larger scale potential areas to cut or move money. These are smaller, so you could see would have a lesser impact, but still an impact on other things throughout the city. And so, but what I'd like to do out of this, rather than tonight allocate funding, I would like to, I would ask the council to direct us to go back to the senior board and work out potentially a new agreement that we could look for ways to help them improve, provide the programs and the things that they're doing, and that the city could be more of an assist more in that. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Council questions?
Yes.
Council Linton?
You were saying that you wanted to go back and like renegotiate a contract or something. So what things would you want to renegotiate?
Well, there are a number of provisions in that contract that are not that the senior board is not in compliance with. For example, under the contract, they're supposed to provide a meal 5 days a week, which they don't do. They're also, they're supposed to be paying all the expenses for the building, which the city pays the expenses. And I'm not saying we didn't agree to do that, but it's just not reflected in the agreement. And so I'm just saying we should go in there and just make sure we're up to date and frankly, look for ways that we can help them provide a good program to the seniors in our community.
I probably go over there on an average of a couple of times a month. And I've looked at their program, and I need to get my paper out, but that was given to me. And I feel like the programs and what they're doing is outstanding at this time. The problem is that when I was asking that we have a discussion for the 30,000, it was to go towards the meals, because I'm pretty sure that they would love to do a 5 days a week if the money was there. They have people that food is taken out to them, and they can't even afford the $5. There are people that come there twice a week. They go to other small towns that may have food services. They go over to churches that are serving food. And so I think that I'm hoping that we, as a city council, would consider increasing the funds. Also, I do have a question. I know that the city pays for out of $20 million to Amazon. We fix it, pay for it, then they reimburse that money. So that money is going here, coming back, going out, coming back. I think that out of that, I don't know if we can make a motion to do that, but take $30,000 out of that. I don't think it would hurt if we were to take that out of the $20 million.
Okay.
I'm finished.
Okay. Any other council questions? Councilor Brown?
Let me get the paper.
My question was just sheerly on the figure. I'm really happy with where staff is looking to, where they feel like they can assist the senior board, but in terms of the request, the 30K, I guess just to what specifically that would be going to, I guess, is that rendering, like we said, is it now going to be 5 days a week because of this amount? It just kind of seemed really random to me, the amount. So I guess I don't know what that amount amounted to, I guess what it was able to produce.
I have the paper.
No,
Sorry.
Counselor Hayward.
My question is, I would like to know where where the 30,000 going is, like Brown says, but what stops any other nonprofit coming in here asking us for another 30,000? We start giving it out to one, we gotta look at all of them. Question is, have we thought about this with other organizations that might come and ask us? Since we do it with one.
I have not considered that. I mean, that's obviously something that could happen. My recommended path would, I mean, this is a relationship we have with an agency. There's not many others like it that we have a relationship with. And so I don't see if we were to rework our agreement and find a way to help them through that agreement, then I don't see other agencies being able to come back to us with that kind of a request.
Counselor.
I appreciate that you come to us, letting us know that with the work that the staff has done prior years with the senior board, that you feel confident that looking through the use agreement, there might be some ways to look at what resources might be available to them. I think looking back into history, we know that a lot of help has been provided. So do you know, are there other senior boards that meet or they have the level of support from the city? Or do they get together? Do they have any way to get together as boards to see like what is going great for the Stanfield Senior Center, the Irrigan Senior Center, to see maybe what lessons also can be learned by this particular board?
Yeah, I'm not aware of them doing anything like that. So I would have to ask them.
Okay, other questions? Councilor Roberts.
Just so I'm clear, if by going back to renegotiate, potentially through that process, our assistants could free up resources that they're allocating now. We won't know until we renegotiate, but that is a potential, correct?
That's potential.
Okay.
Question?
Well, actually,
If it's a comment, it's for comments. It's questions
okay,
right now.
I'll wait for comment.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, public comment. Do we have any public comment on this matter? Okay. All right, council comments.
Thank you, Mayor. The total meals for September, this is September, Meal on Wheels delivered are 399. Takeouts, 113. Served in-house, 306, for a total of 818 meals for the month of September. And I don't think that Park and Rider is a nonprofit. Is it a nonprofit? I don't think so.
The Hermiston Senior Center Board of Directors, Inc. is a registered nonprofit with the state.
Okay. And the grant that is given by Parks and Recs, that's open to any nonprofit that asks for money for,
No, the budget that we have allocated to the Harkenrider Center is to help us operate a city facility that we want to operate well and to hopefully assist them to provide programs to seniors.
okay, so it's both the nonprofit and also part of the city? Is that
So
correct?
we own the building.
You own the building, okay.
We have an agreement with this nonprofit for them to operate certain programs within our building.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Other council comments? Councilor Kelso?
Yeah, I understand, and the seniors have, I hold a special place in my heart for the seniors, but this is a legal entity we have a contract with, the city has a contract with. They've contracted to perform certain duties in exchange for a certain amount of money. And the city manager has stated they're not performing all of those duties. We've not made an issue out of it, but that's only because, again, the seniors hold a special place in our heart, I assume. So I think it's a dangerous precedent, as Councilor Hayward said, to throw money at a already underperforming contract partner of the city. I don't see us doing this for any other entity that we contract with, whether it's a nonprofit or a for-profit corporation. So I don't see the wisdom in taking from other parts of the city budget, in essence, goring somebody else's ox to throw money at the seniors who already aren't performing. That's my 2 cents.
Any other council comments? Councilor Broom?
I concur with the counselor, which is kind of to my first question of the $30,000. What does it quantify specifically in this request? And so I'm really happy of the opportunity of having a conversation with the senior board. I don't think any one of us up here would reject an amount to, you know, to people with a good cause. I mean, who wouldn't want to give more of something to like seniors or kids? We do have a budget to operate, and I think that is important to remember. And so, if there is something that we can do to support our partners, I think that's a great thing to do. But as far as, making random allocations, I think this sort of conversation is reserved for goal setting when we decide what we're going to budget for, what we're going to fund. Every single one of the agencies, nonprofits, departments that we allocate are very worthy causes. And so I would be curious and would like to entertain the staff having a conversation with the board and seeing what good can come of it.
Other council comments? Okay.
I just want to add that this isn't money that is going out willy-nilly just to any person out on the street. This is for money to go towards food so that they can have enough funds to have it 5 days a week. You can't squeeze blood out of a turnip. You don't have it, you can't do it. And so that is why I asked that we at least discuss it. If nobody here on the city council wants to do it, then, we can all vote no, and I'll just vote yes to it, and it won't pass. Simple as that. Thank you.
Councilor Roberts?
I appreciate that everything that's been said here today. The seniors are an important part of our community, and we do need to figure out a way to make sure that they're taken care of. As a nonprofit, they have the ability to seek donations and fundraise and do things that can increase their revenue. If there's things that we as a city can do to help facilitate that, I think that would be wise. But as was said, just throwing city money at it, that may just end up being a short-term stopgap. As the number of meals increase, as the inflation increases, at some point, that may not be enough. And so as Councilor Kelso said, if they're underperforming, they need to figure that out, and we can partner with them through our negotiations and see how we can help facilitate that so that their funding is increased, but not necessarily directly tied to taxpayer funds, because I don't think that that's going to solve their long-term issue if they're short on revenue overall.
Councilor Hayward, did I see your hand up earlier?
I have a motion.
No, not ready for
I
that
know,
yet.
that's why.
Okay. Any other council comments? All right. Okay, so we have a couple of motions available to us. One, recommend a combination of $30,000 cuts / enhancements to account for an additional $30,000 to contribute to the Harkin Rider Center. Or two, direct staff to work with the senior board to renegotiate our use agreement for Harkin Rider Center for better allocation, to better allocate resources.
Motion number 2.
Okay, I have a motion for number 2, direct
Second.
staff.
Second.
Second by Counselor Roberts. Okay. Roll call.
Yes.
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 No.
Yes.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-1 with Counselor Linton in abstention. Opposition, sorry. Thank you. All right. You have your marching orders on that one. All right, committee reports. Have any committee reports for tonight? Councilor Roberts?
Attended the airport advisory meeting on November 5th. Happy to say that there was full attendance of all committee members and as well as 2 people from the public, which was nice to see. Not much to report overall. Budget's on track. Fuel sales are down a little bit because they're moving into winter. We're not quite sure what Life Flight moving is going to do to the fuel sales, but there are some other things in the work that it could increase the sales overall, so stay tuned on that. Hangar is near completion. The electrician was due to be done this week, I think. Utilities are getting all hooked up with a final inspection, hopefully coming up soon. So I'm hoping that at the next meeting, I'll be able to maybe tour the new hangar up there fully completed, which would be kind of exciting. So that is what's happening at your airport.
All right. Other committee reports. Counselor Barone?
Yeah, we were across the street from you guys at the EOTech. We did not have a quorum, unfortunately, so we are scheduled to meet this December to give you guys a full report, hopefully with a quorum.
Okay.
But we were there. It was great.
You were there. All right, good. Counselor Hayward?
The faith-based advisory committee met. We did have 2 students advisory there, but we didn't have a quorum. So I'm hoping to report next month fully on everything, if they decide everything.
Councilor Brown, would you mention briefly just the name of the committee that didn't get to meet? Because I don't think that was technically stated, just for the
For sure. It was the EOTech committee.
at EOTech.
Yeah.
I think there was some confusion.
Across the street, which
Okay.
actually, by the way, I do have a question on that, and it's for our city manager Smith. Even though we did not have a quorum, is there a vacancy for the hoteliers or no?
There's already somebody who's been nominated to fill that.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, that'll be coming forward here shortly.
That's correct.
Okay, well, vacancy review committee, we've been filling and recommending stuff. So,
Had some today.
yeah, we got a few today. Look forward to seeing some committee appointments and reappointments coming up in future council sessions. So, any other council comments or council advisory? All right, mayor's report. Try to make this quick and painless. Had a mayor city manager meeting here recently, had good discussions over some of the stuff that's going on. Everybody's feeling the same pain we are. Nobody's exempt from it, unfortunately. So Stanfield and Echo are having issues with some deals that we brought up, and which rolls into the next thing. The next day, I had a meeting with Congressman Bentz, who listened to everything that we all brought to him. There was people from the region across there. The main thing is, main deal was brought up was water, of course, and transportation. The issue of all the interchanges on I-84, I-82 between here and between actually Boardman and Pendleton are at capacity, and unfortunately, they ain't cheap to fix. And so, we're brought the information to him, and Congressman Bentz, I have to give him credit for the fact that he tells it like it is, and he asks the hard questions, and I was impressed with the questions that he asked. One of the things that I brought forward in our conversation with him was, the dealing with the mental health problems that we're having, and what we can do to help, what they can do, possibly help us with on a national level. And he turned the question back around on me, and so I'm going to have to be bringing him some information as to what we can do now differently now than what we've done in the past, so that we don't result in insanity, basically. Also, let's see, we had Halloween in the past, and we had trunk or treat. I think that went quite well. I got a big thumbs up over there, huh?
Streets on Main.
Streets on Main. That's what I meant. But trunk or treat was also done at other locations. So, we had a lot of stuff, and didn't sound like we had any mishaps with kidlings. So that's good. I'm gonna steal your thunder. Remember, elections are coming up. If you haven't filed, if you want to file, you should file. If you haven't filed, remember, as I always say, world's run by those who show up. So take your shot. Be up here. Don't be the one that sits behind the keyboard and tells us how badly we're doing. Come up here and show us how it's done, because all those ideas out there, you might have the idea that just breaks the bank. Oh wait, that's not how it's supposed to work, is it?
We already had those meetings. We already had those motions.
So, all right. With that, I'll turn it over to our council president.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Actually hadn't remembered to do that one, so you didn't really lose my thunder, but thank you for the reminder. Steal my thunder. Just want to talk about a couple events coming up. Tomorrow, the Veterans Day breakfast happening at the community center, 8 a.m. Thank you to Hermiston Parks and Recreation. Also coming up with our Parks and Recreation program on the 15th, we've got the holiday market going on here. Proceeds going directly to Guardian Angel Homes Activity Department. And that's about it, except for I do want to remind that the council, that we get an invitation from the Hermiston Chamber of Commerce. The ribbon cutting for Monte Vista Homes happening this Thursday, the 13th at 12 p.m.
Yeah, what he said. All right, council comments or council report.
One that he forgot to mention on the 18th is the ribbon cutting for Planet Fitness.
Yes, just got that in the email here just a little bit ago. Okay. That's a no. Any others? Council Kelso, I'm sorry.
Thank you. I was able to attend the Dia de los Muertos event on November 2nd, where the Hermiston Hispanic Advisory Committee members were serving chocolate. So I spent a couple hours there doing that and covered myself in hot chocolate, basically. It was a good time was had by all.
Pictures?
Yeah, nah, not without money. And I had a great time, saw a lot of cool things, a lot of awesome cultural things, and I have a list of people I'd like to thank for putting the event on. I thought it was a success, and as I said, a good time was had by all. But Omar Medina was the main organizer. He works at the high school and is an all-around great guy. Zaira Flores, Jessica De La Cruz, Sandra Hernandez, Mayra Aiden, Rafael Romero, Alejandra Meza, Daniela Hernandez, Obdulia Munoz, Maria Duron, Marisa Avila, Nadia Monroy, and Gerardo Chavez. So thank you to all those people for working hard to put that event on. It was a good time and I think a great community event. I had the privilege of attending a ribbon cutting at Hayden Homes at Columbia Ridge on Wednesday the 5th and got to tour their model home. It was beautiful and reasonably priced for this area and for Oregon. So I was thrilled to be there. It was a great opportunity and the media was there. I encourage everybody to attend future ribbon cuttings for housing developments because this is what helps our middle-class families have housing and enables Hermiston to grow, which is exciting, to me at least, and I hope to everyone else. And I would like to mention that today is the 250th birthday of the Marine Corps. So congratulations to the Marines out there. Thank you very much.
That's how long my
Councilor
family
Roberts?
country.
I had the honor of being involved in a procession or an escort of the American Veterans Traveling Tribute on Thursday. We picked them up at the Pilot in Stanfield and escorted them to the Temescalip Cultural Center out on the Tribe. This group travels the United States, showcasing the Traveling Vietnam Wall and Cost of Freedom Tribute, honoring, respecting, and remembering those who have paid the ultimate sacrifice. And they will be on display. They'll have the display up at the Cultural Center through the 12th. And so I encourage people to go check that out if you're over in the Pendleton area.
Ron?
Yes, I just want to commend the city. I love the city Hermiston app. If you have not downloaded it, you need to because you're able to pay your bill, look at all the latest news, and see what the city is up to. I really like it. I forgot my phone at home, so I can't really show it to you guys. But I love it. I thank you for doing that because now people can get notifications for the things that they want to know. I also want to commend the Hermiston Police Department for being able to send two sergeants, both Studebakers, to the training in Texas. It sounds like it's going to help out our department. So thank you for investing in your staff so that they're able to properly have the skills, the knowledge to be able to make our communities safer. That's it.
Okay. Others? Yes, good job from the for the sergeants, making them better leaders for the future. Okay, City Manager Smith. What? Nothing? Okay. With that, we're adjourned.
Talking to Doug.